Hello and welcome. This is the first part of a 5-part series exploring some of the great errors that are found within Roman Catholicism. I am not an enemy of the Catholic Church, far from it. I was born a Catholic. I've lived my entire life as a Catholic. I taught in seminaries for 25 years as a Catholic, and I'm going to die as a Catholic. However, because I am an insider, I know some very important things that I want to share with you. The first issue deals with hatred. Cultivating a hatred toward a whole race or a whole religion. Can it happen? Oh, it's happening all the time. It's called prejudice. And I'm dealing with the great prejudice that Christians have had and cultivated for 1,500 years against the Jews. Okay, a little history. We're in the year 2025. If we go back 80 years to 1945, that was when the war ended. And at the same time, the persecution of Jews by the Nazis ended as well. The Nazi Party was different from all other political parties insofar as it was based on a hatred of Jews and Judaism. A political hatred, but a dangerous one as well. 9 million Jews were rounded up and killed for the simple reason that they happened to be Jewish. Okay, so that's 1945. Let's jump ahead 10 years. And now I am actually 16 years old, and I have gotten, what can I say, disappointed with my salary earned by delivering the Cleveland Plain Dealer. And I want to get into some real money. And I got a job working as a stock boy and a cleanup man in Meldon's Dry Goods. Oh boy, what a new life was heading for me. But then all of a sudden, I found out that Mr. Martin, the owner, was a Jew. All of a sudden, alarms are going off. Can a Jew treat a Christian fairly? Is he going to try to cheat me? Is he going to prevent me from keeping the holiness of the Lord's Day or the holy days within the Christian calendar? Is he going to interfere with my schooling? Will he even try to convert me? Who knows? This was the first Jew, the first living Jew that I ever met. I had no idea what was going to happen. But because of my training as a Roman Catholic, I was already biased against Jews. Why? Because of this holy book. Not so holy at times, let me tell you. This holy book, as the nuns used to tell me, proves that the Jews killed Jesus. And for this, God was going to punish them. And so when the Jews suffered, what can you say, a poor harvest, God was punishing them. When the Jews were suffering because the Romans invaded their country and surrounded the whole temple and starved 1 million people to death, God was punishing them. And so the Christian agenda was very anti-Jewish. Let's go ahead and see what happens. At first, I just played cautiously. But then one day, as I was distributing my sawdust and getting ready to sweep the whole store, I found under the counter a crumpled $20 bill. And I said, wow, someone must have lost this. This was a lot of money in 1955. My starting salary was 50 cents an hour. So this was worth about $100 in today's money. What did I do? I immediately gave it over to Mr. Martin saying, hey, look, someone who was shopping in your store lost some powerful money here. Has anyone asked for it? No. Well, you keep it in a safe place. I'm sure someone who has lost it is going to perhaps come by and ask for it. And after that, I completely forgot about it. I didn't even mention the possibility that I might be receiving a reward. That didn't seem important to me. I was willing to work hard for money and not get rewards. Well, what I discovered later is that Mr. Martin was also not trusting me. Think about it. What reason did he have to trust me? He didn't know me from Adam. I could be on a roll to cheat him, steal from the cash register, etc., create real hell for him. He needed to find out what kind of person I was. And so he took that crumpled $20 bill and purposely put it under the counter just to see what would happen. You see? Distrust. I distrust him, he distrusts me. But guess what? After 3 months, that distrust is beginning to evaporate. Mr. Martin is bending over backwards when I have an engagement at school, an engagement in my church to attend. He finds a substitute for me to take care of the cleaning and washing the big windows. Matter of fact, Mr. Martin is remarkably fair and even-handed. He doesn't keep any secrets from me. Moreover, he's even generous. He's even generous. A Jew being generous to a Christian, a Roman Catholic. And it began to melt my heart. I thought, maybe I've been misinformed by Jews. They're not all mean and avaricious. No. Look at Mr. Martin. And then I had a very, very disturbing thought. My church was going to consign to eternal hell everyone who was involved in killing Jesus. And since my religion teachers explained to me that the Jews, not just a few Jews, all Jews are somehow implicated in the death of Jesus, and they're going to get their just desserts and eternity in hellfire. Now, for the first time in my life, I felt very uneasy with that. It did not seem fair that Mr. Martin, he didn't know Jesus. He didn't hate him or love him. He just simply didn't know him at all. How could he be implicated in the death of Jesus? It didn't make any sense to me. And I saw very quickly that this prejudice against Jews has gone way out of hand. Yes, there were some Jews involved. But guess what? The Bible shows that all of Jesus' 12 disciples were Jews. Mary was a Jew. If all the Jews were so-called responsible for the death of Jesus, then the disciples and Mary should also be guilty and expect a burning in hell. So the whole thing was, it was actually prejudice functioning. Prejudice and mindless hatred of Jews. Started in the 4th century, grew in intensity over the times, finds some expression in Adolf Hitler. He had more political agenda against the Jews. 1966, another 10 years. I kept my secrets to myself. I was enamored by Mr. Martin. I loved the man. I wasn't going to try to explain that to my parents, to my teachers, etc., etc. I knew that they were biased against Jews. It was unfortunate. I wasn't going to be able to change any of that. But my heart was changed. Because I now liked one Jew, I was open to liking a second and a third Jew. You see what I mean? Once prejudice gets broken, it goes all the way. It goes all the way. And so in 1965, another 10 years later, all of a sudden, my hope and my dream come forward. There's going to be a new Vatican Council meeting in the Vatican. Bishops from all over the world are going to assemble. And what is the number one item that the Pope is putting on the agenda? Hatred of Jews. I loved it. I loved it. 10 years ago already, I had dealt with that issue in my own private life. And now it was going to be dealt with by the bishops and the priests in my church. They did a great job of it. They wrote a document that made clear, first and foremost, that yes, there were some Jews involved in the death of Jesus, but it is impossible to imagine that all of the Jews then living, much less the Jews now living, are in any way responsible. In any way responsible. Second point, that no Christian ought to use the Bible in order to preach hatred of Jews as a doctrine that comes directly from the Bible itself. It doesn't. It's their book after all. And the third point, I think, is even more momentous. The bishop said that when it comes to the choice of God to favor the Jewish people, beginning with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, that God never denied his affection for his people, the Jewish people, and that he was never going to do this until the end of time. And therefore, to be a good Catholic, I had to recognize that God himself loved the Jews first. And when Christians came along, they also loved Jews. However, after the number of Christians became very small, a number of Christians from Judah became very small, the movement was to actually begin to preach hatred against the Jews. But this was finished. Prejudice can be learned, prejudice can be unlearned. I was prejudiced against Jews. Mr. Martin, I love you, taught me it was unnecessary and unhealthy. Unhealthy for me, unhealthy for him as well. So this is the first great error that the Catholic Church has made. And it astonishes me that between the 4th century and 1965, every generation had been prepped to despise, to distrust, and to hate Jews. That's the truth. It's a hard pill to swallow. Now, I know some of you may be actually struggling with the Jewish question. Hatred against Jews is still alive and well in our modern world. You can actually see this. But if you cannot also notice that Christianity, as it is properly presented, oftentimes comes with hatred and despising Jews, that is a serious error that takes that form of Christianity out of the ambit of Jesus. That has nothing to do with Jesus. That's a false prejudice and needs to be rooted out and exposed. So, if you find your church is in that position, do something about it. Investigate the question. Speak up in favor of the Jewish faith, the Jewish choice of God. If you have friends who are Jewish, if you respect the Jewish tradition as it is practiced, then let me know in the comments at the bottom of the page. Okay, thank you very much for listening. God love you.